Despite the situation apparently getting better in Israel and Iran, DFA says repatriation shall continue. Let's get updates from USEC Ed de Vega of the Department of Foreign Affairs. So, good evening, USEC, and welcome to the big story.
Welcome. I don't see you, but you can see me.
Yes, we can
Well,
see
good
you.
evening.
We can see you very clearly. Well, is it still alert level 3 that's up?
Yes, it's alert level 3 for both Israel and Iran because, well, we need the ambassadors' assessments. We need the ambassadors, both ambassadors' formal recommendations. We always said that the alert levels are subject to periodic review, could be lowered, could be raised, depending on the local situation. And of course, our ambassadors are in the ears on the ground. There is this ceasefire, which is good news. Our DFA has issued a statement welcoming it. However, the fact is, as people say, it's still a fragile ceasefire, and there is still a need to make sure that it holds. So we're still under alert level 3. And even without the formal announcement of alert level 3, anybody who wants to go home will be assisted. In other words, whether or not there's an alert level, if some people want to go home, we will assist them to go home. We're still encouraging people to go home. We want to make sure that it's a more permanent ceasefire, that it will last. However, we are certainly open to lowering it. Israel clearly, according to our ambassador, is achieving some state of normalcy even in their defense establishment. And Iran, the same thing. So we're open, depending on the recommendations of the ambassadors.
So, should you lower the alert level, will our OFWs still be entitled to the financial assistance and other packages that's being offered as of now under alert level 3?
Yes, because, and you may consult other offices like the DMW, OWA, DSWD, and DOH, Congress, and other offices or officials who have been offering these assistance packages. Whether there's an alert level or not, whenever we repatriate en masse, whenever we repatriate Filipinos, they do receive this. The DMW and OWA always have some financial assistance for them and reintegration program. So yes, I just said that whether or not there is an alert level, people who need to go home. We're not talking about people who need a vacation. No, we're talking about people who want to go home.
Yes.
Will be assisted. Yes, that's a guarantee.
Have the numbers decreased? We understand that upwards of 300 have indicated that they want to be repatriated, but have they changed their minds?
Well, I haven't received the latest info because we are ahead by a few hours. Our Ambassador Eileen Mendiola in Tel Aviv will eventually submit the latest numbers. The number of around 300 indicates the numbers of those who have signed in for the voluntary repatriation. And, however, despite that, if you ask them, all right, how many are ready to leave now? Even before the ceasefire, there were only about 50 who said they're ready to leave at any moment. So we don't expect the numbers to rise. We hope they will rise in case the ceasefire does not hold. Even when in the case of the 50, I believe the news report reported future batches. Well, here's the thing. There's supposed to be a second batch passing through Jordan. We already had the first one arriving last night. Delayed, but they arrived. With no less than the DMW secretary with them. There's supposed to be a second batch being planned through Jordan. But right now, it's on hold, according to our ambassadors in Tel Aviv and Amman, possibly because it was supposed to be a fairly big batch, around 50, including tourists. But apparently, it's put on hold maybe because they're the Filipinos are having second thoughts, or because the airport in Tel Aviv is now open, even for limited flights, that means they may prefer to just go home via Israel instead of going to Jordan. So we'll update you on that. So, but that's a sign. That's a sign that there is less interest. So eventually we may lower the alert level altogether. Pero tuloy pa rin. Whoever wants to go home will be assisted.
What would trigger, USEC, the lowering of the alert level from 3 to 2?
The number one consideration is that our people on the ground recommend it. Now, alert level 2 or restricted phase only limits our deployment, meaning we can't deploy new workers. We can have those who already were employed return. For example, those who have had a contract before the announcement alert level 2, which began in October 2003 with the Israeli-Hamas conflict. If before that they were already there, they can come back. They can go back. But what's the difference? Alert level 2 is restricted because there's a threat. There poses a threat. The situation is not completely safe, but there's no actual skirmish. Now, alert level 3, it means that there's already risk to life and limb, and it's best to go home. And now, when you have missiles flying in both directions, there is such a risk. But alert level 4, or mandatory repatriation, would require a total breakdown of the country, meaning we don't even want Filipinos to be there. So not only must the Filipinos there already go home, but we won't certainly want Filipinos to remain there. In other words, or to go there. So, but that's rare. We've had that in Sudan, and of course, up to now, in Gaza. Because, well, I think the Gaza situation is self-explanatory. So neither country was actually like that. And the majority of the Filipinos, vast majority of Filipinos, and of course, opted to stay despite some fears. Remember, some time ago, just very recently, the media was asking us, why don't you go right away to mandatory? Now, that would have been a rash decision, given that the countries were still operational, meaning the government still worked, there were still actually some establishments open, and so forth. But now that we have the ceasefire, there's the question, kailan bababa? So we can't be rash and make quick decisions either way. The ceasefire has only been operational for a little over 24 hours. We'd like to see it longer before we lower it. And, well, it doesn't have to take long. Maybe within the next week or next several days, we'll lower it. Certainly, Iran used to be in alert level 1, which is precautionary phase, meaning advising Filipinos to take caution, while Israel was already on alert level 2. We may lower it eventually, but stay tuned for developments.
But, you know, USEC, it's really good that the first batch of OFWs was able to return safely here in the Philippines. But they had a press con last night, and some of them were recounting their traumatic experience during the war and the tensions that they felt. So aside from financial assistance, how will the DMW, the DFA, will be assisting them as well? And is there a mechanism for them to go back to Israel? Because as we all know, nandun kasi din yung buhay po talaga nila, yung mga trabaho din po nila.
Opo. Ito po, the first question, hindi lang DFA, DMW nandun. Nandun DOH, nandun DSWD. Inalok sila ng health services, psychosocial treatment. Yes, so meron yan. It's standard, so ganon. And the reintegration process of the DMW would include that. By the way, they'll be assisted with the local governments to see if there are jobs available, according to Secretary Kakdag and the new OWA administrator. Well, if they want to go abroad, tignan mo, kumahanap ng trabaho. Now, we know they love the conditions in Israel. They're paid very well. I would say, pag bumalik na tayo sa alert level 2, well, they're already there. So they could go back because this would not be new deployment. if their employers would still have them. So that's the mechanism when we go down to alert level 2.
But they're still entitled to keep that financial assistance o kailangan bang ibalik yan?
Siguro naman hindi sisingilin. Well, you could ask Secretary Takdak, siguro naman hindi niya kukunin ulit.
Huwag naman sana.
Maybe ganito ang compromise. Hindi naman pwede ba babalik doon, babalik doon. Each time, magiging business na yan. Okay.
Hindi naman rin,
Then go
syempre.
15 months and get 150,000 pesos,
Yeah.
then go back there.
Yeah.
I think it's clear it's a one-shot deal.
Kung wais ka,
And
pwede mong gawin yon kung wais ka. But, let's not begrudge them the fact
Some
that
are wise.
hindi naman nila na-foresee na magkaka-ceasefire, hindi po ba?
One more thing. The DMW has custody over them now, no? Our ambassadors did, but personally, I have not met them. I'm pretty sure, though, the majority of them are recent arrivals to Israel, meaning last year, last 2 years, last 3 years lang, or shortly before 2023. In other words, hindi pa veteran. Because veterans in Israel, 5 years, 6 years, 7 years, they're so used to this. And in the daily office, parang, okay, there's a missile there. Yeah. I myself have experienced that. I've been to Israel. And after a while, you just accept it. Of course, we're God-fearing and a bit fatalistic. So kasama rin yun na kung oras mo, oras mo. There have been no Filipino casualties either in Israel or Iran. We still have at least one, Filipino who's in critical condition, Filipina actually, babae, in the hospital, but no others. So the vast number of Filipino veterans there are saying, I'm going to stay here, ayun a lot. Pero yung itong mga bagito to, others who may want to go home, well, tourists, obviously they want to go home. Mga recent arrivals, we remember the 21 government officials, nakauwi na. And then scholars, we have, there's always these scholars taking agricultural program studies there for about 6 months to a year. So they're not veterans. I mean, hindi sila matagal na nandun, and they would naturally be concerned, lalo na for them, maybe the bomb shelters are more difficult to reach because they're in the fields, no? So, unlike yung mga nasa urban areas, any building has a bomb shelter, as an underground shelter or bunker. So, the Mashav, which is the Israeli agency in charge of scholarships, is taking care of our scholars, so ensuring their safety.
Yusek, may mga ganun ba? Mga pilgrims, tourists, scholars na nag-express na gusto nilang umuwi? And kasi we were only hearing about the OFWs apart from yung government officials. Yak, mga ilan po, more or less?
There was about 10 to a dozen, pero out of that, mga 3 lang umuwi. 4 umuwi. Iba ng isip. So maybe because of the ceasefire, or maybe because, mangyari dyan, yung iba, kusang look, there were 2 tourists who went on their own. Hindi kami nag-repatriation. Sorry, they crossed to Amman on their own. Hindi namin dinala. They crossed to Amman on their own. They had their tickets pa uwi. Ang ginawa lang ng embassy natin sa Amman, sinundo sila para dalhin sa airport. Or we didn't spend money for them because they had a ticket. So there have been a handful of tourists. By the way, may I take advantage of the opportunity to say, of course, under the alert level 3, we're somewhat obviously discouraging people to go there, no? It's not a travel ban per se, but, common sense, no? Lalo na sarado airspace. But now, in Israel, not yet Tehran, but Israel, open ang airspace, so there might be Filipinos wanting to go back. We're going to tell you whether it's alert level 3, alert level 2, alert level 1, or no alert level. Just exercise caution because this is Israel. I'm pretty sure those government officials had no expectations that they would be caught in some very big crossfire. And neither did the OFWs who were interviewed last night. So, when we go back to alert level 2, certainly we're not going to say don't travel. By the way, we don't need a visa to travel to Israel. There's not many countries who don't require a visa for Filipinos, kasama doon ng Israel. So that's one reason why, it's an attractive destination, especially for example, pilgrims, no, for those undergoing Christian pilgrimages. So I'm sure magkakaroon naman ng advertisements, see the Holy Land, ganyan. Di ba? I hope they wait muna 1 month muna.
Yes.
1 month muna, tingnan muna na
1
sigurado
month
ceasefire.
would be a good time frame to
Yes.
assess the situation.
Yeah, and you know, I mean, well, I think the priests and others who are managing these religious pilgrimages, they are worth it. I mean, you see Jerusalem, you see Nazareth again. They know that while Filipinos would like to go to heaven and see God, they might not want to see God right now. Right now, which pray to Him. So be safe, mga kababayan.
Oh, Yusek, Israel has more Filipinos than Iran. And there's been a lot
Much
of
more.
news about them, updates. Sabi nyo nga po, Yusek, no, some of them are rethinking their decision on whether they will be coming home or staying. But what's the situation in Iran, Yusek? Kasi mga Pilipino doon, mga deeply rooted po talaga, more than 20 years na nandun, which is quite different also from, nasabi nyo nga po doon sa Israel.
At saka, yung mga Filipinos, by and large, they're with other Filipinos sa Israel. Filipinos in Iran are almost all with Iranian families, meaning Filipinas married to Iranians. I think I've been heard saying this. There were a lot of Iranians decades ago, and those of a certain generation will remember, there were many Iranians studying medicine, dentistry, maybe engineering, architecture in the Philippines, in Philippine universities. And some of them, a lot of them, went home not just with diplomas, but with marriage certificates, with wives. And now they're there. And under Iranian law, if you're a foreign woman, whether you know it or not, you're a foreign woman, you married Iranian, and you're in Iran, you're automatically Iranian citizen. So going back to that situation, very few as well wanted to go home. Sabi ng ating ambassador, aside from a few of them, there's only a few, like 20 or so, and some indicated to go home. And some will go home this Friday, about 6 of them. And we will wait kung meron pa in the future. There were about 60 dual nationals who wanted to go home, but I'm pretty sure they will change their minds now, no? What's the situation in Iran? Also, according to our ambassador, Robert Manalo, in Tehran, there's some normalcy coming back, like there's no more gas queues. People are going, because during the time that they were being bombarded in Israel, Iranians could not leave Iran. And that included Filipinos naman. Of course, if their husbands don't go, they will not go. So they just transferred to provincia. They just left Iran. But they're now coming back, according to our ambassador. There's more life in the city. Some commercial establishments are reopening. So it's essentially going back to normalcy. And may I say therefore, sa mga nakikinig na may kamag-anak sa Israel o sa Iran, magandang balita to. Ibig sabihin, kung may mga kamag-anak kayo doon, baka nahihirapan ng kumontak sa inyo. Lalo na sa Iran where internet, it's spotty, no? So, at least, alam namin, walang casualties, walang deaths, at bumabalik na sa normal ang situation. So, medyo the worst is past. So, ang kailangan lang pagkasalan na ganito talaga at hindi yung bukas nagbabakbakan na naman.
All right, we will have to end it there. Thank you for joining the big story, DFA Undersecretary Ed De Vega.